Previously on the Rod Pedersen Show.
So Hamilton blows out those coordinators. Edmonton fires a coach just to get back on point here. And you look at all the changes teams have made. Montreal, I don't get why nobody's talking about Montreal. Are they not 10-11? Or sorry, 10-1 out of 11 games. They got a chance to do what Toronto did last year. Did Toronto not clinch first by mid-September? You know, they had a half a season that didn't mean anything. So now we're down to the final third for the Montreal Alouettes. Is there a danger, do you think, for them of clinching too soon?
There is. There's always a danger of complacency, especially, you know, what's going to change this year is you've got Toronto, probably Ottawa and Hamilton all in really a dogfight playing playoff football now the rest of the way. They really are. They're playing playoff football the rest of the way. There's going to be multiple head-to-heads between them, and Montreal's in the driver's seat. So unless they, you know, something happens and they drop a couple of games here and things get interesting, there is a concern of complacency, especially when they've been so good for so long. You go back to last season and the run they went on, and then through the Grey Cup, and then this season, and none of this has been without adversity. They've had to come back in games. I get that multiple times. But what's going to happen if they lose one or two in a row here? Can they recover? That's when you'll see some pressure on Jason Moss and Cody Fajardo.
It's interesting because the Argos last year didn't do anything wrong, Toronto. They just clinched in mid-September, the earliest ever, I think at 12-1. That's what you want to do. Win every game if you can. And then they didn't handle it well, hosting in the Eastern Final, how they handled their personnel, but now they have a chance to redeem themselves this year. It's a heck of a story.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a fan of Patrick Roy are you? I'm an 11 out of 10, and the literal translation of Roy is king. Part of the reason I love him so much is that we are very similar, and my guess is the book on Patrick Roy would be very similar to what the book is on me. He's uncontrollable. My dad would be proud of that fact.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Whoa. I turned my mic up. Sorry, guys. By accident. It's the RP Show, and here we are. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network. Streaming, of course, if you found us there, and, of course, podcast if you're listening somewhere down the line. It's episode number 1401. Let's bring in the Moose. It's the other half of the program today. I'm going to tell you all right now up front, it's going to be a lot of hockey, a lot of football, a little smash of NBA, and we'll see what else is going on. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, Moose. You did a really nice job with the Christmas lights that you put around the out screen of the show, so that way I don't have to do any decorating of my set here. Looks like you got the Christmas spirit going in Toronto. Our guests today are a couple of hockey guys and very good friends of ours, Colin Patterson of the Calgary Flames alumni, and Alan May of the Washington Capitals alumni, and also from Monument Sports in Washington. Those are the guests. Can you hit the quick six show horn, guys, and we'll go and get right into it. We're going to break with tradition a little bit here, and I just want to say, I'm going to read from the text line, 902-518-3033. I always like reading the texts. When I open it in the morning, they come from yesterday's show, ones that I didn't see, like when people watch the replay, Darren. Gary in Calgary writes in, he says, I know your uncle and aunt, Ross and Lynette from Milestone, Saskatchewan. To me, watching your show was like getting a letter from home. I got caught up on all the happening. I now reside in Calgary and bleed green always. Signed, Gary Skinner Verity. P.S. Just started watching you this fall to follow the CFL. So we're the postcard from home, I guess. Take that for what you will. But Darren wrote another wonderful column, and it's the top item running right now at rodpeterson.com. Where I said that we are going to break from tradition here. We normally do the quick six show topics. We'll get to that. We have a lot of time for that. Darren posed the question in his column, is there too much sports right now? And while I'll go right out and say, yeah, I think there is. There's too much. You explain why you think that is. And this morning when I was working out, I was listening to Dan Patrick, and he said the same damn thing. And now he's a big NBA guy. We all, I think, know who Dan Patrick is, one of the most famous sportscasters on the continent. And he's brought up the NBA ratings being down. And he's like, well, look, the NFL's moved into Christmas Day. That's NBA's territory. And now there's more college football playoff games than ever. Everything's more. And I'm going to want you to paraphrase why you said that, but also our audience. Do you think that there's too much? Because I'm going to tell you, I think there's too much. And it's very hard to keep up on everything. But what made you say that?
It just, I was thinking about the NFL at Christmas Day, and they're going to be there. And I'm like, oh, that's great. But what are your Christmas traditions, right? And then you want to add more and more and more. And you can't keep up with everything. And you can't always be making new traditions all the time. You'll stop having any sort of traditions. But the NFL, it's not new that the NFL is playing on Christmas. They've done that before. But now it's just becoming a thing. They're trying to take over Christmas, which they'll probably be successful at. But I compare this, and I'll try and keep this short. I compare this to the frozen yogurt wars of Saskatoon, okay? When frozen yogurt, you go around, pick your flavors, add your toppings. It was growing in Saskatoon. There was 3 great locations. We went all the time. People loved frozen yogurt. Blink 6 months later, and there's 30 of them, right? Well, they can't all survive. The frozen yogurt market didn't grow, right? The market was the same. Now you're splitting it 30 ways. Within 5 years, they all had to close down. And there's now only like 2 or 3 places in the whole city. It's the same thing. We only have so much attention, but everybody wants to jump in and capitalize. And they're going to cannibalize each other is what's going to happen. And we're going to think that we don't want to watch sports. And the problem is there's just too much of it.
Yeah, well, yeah. We think that there is, but I wonder if the viewers think that there is, because the NFL, they're not going to lose. The NFL, you say they've been playing at Christmas. They have for a while, but now they're on Netflix for the first time. They've got the marketing budget. It just seems like it's a bigger deal. They've taken it away from the NBA. So I think the column that you used, or the phrase you used in your column was, not everybody can be in the pool at the same time. But the NFL comes along, and they are King Kong Bundy doing a cannonball off the... yeah, they kick them all out of the pool. And who likes that guy? Nobody likes that guy. Yet it's the NFL, and if they want to do it, they're going to do it. And everybody's fighting for your attention. And by the way, I was thinking, what did I watch last night? I'm like, well, we watched the series finale of Yellowstone, which sounds like it's going to be not just the season finale, but the series finale. It was very disappointing, but it was very unbelievable and disappointing. I was very disappointed in the last ever episode of Yellowstone. But I'm like, what did I watch after that? Oh, wait, nothing. I came down here to the studio, and I did a podcast interview with a guy in Winnipeg, Derek Lohan, who's probably watching right now, and it was supposed to be about mental health. And in the interview, he goes, hey, Rod, who do you think is going to be the offensive coordinator of the Bombers and the BC Lions? I'm like, I have spent zero time. I got to apologize thinking about that. The CFL season's over. No. So I was not thinking about that. And I just had to tell him, there's too much. Did we hit the quick six show horn? Hit it again, you guys. And we'll get now back on to track. I just wanted to see. Thank you. I just wanted everybody's. It's just too much. I just can't. But we are following the NHL, because that's what we do here. There was a 10-game slate last night. I don't mind saying I beat Darren 8-6 in our picks. So you saw that. So I'm just going to do a couple quick one-timers here. The visiting Ottawa Senators got goals from Shane Pinto, Noah Gregor, and Tim Stützle to blank the Seattle Kraken 3-0. David Pastrnak scored in overtime with 38 seconds to go in it. And the Bruins won at Calgary 4-3. Flames alum Colin Patterson's coming up later in this hour. Adam Lowry scored at 18:47 of the third period to snap a 3-3 stalemate and lift the visiting Winnipeg Jets to a 4-3 win over the San Jose Sharks. The Chicago Blackhawks scored 3 unanswered goals in the third period, went on to beat Washington 3-2, and Kanabadad's 100th career game, he was held without a point. And a day after Sabres owner Terry Pegula met face-to-face with his struggling squad, the Montreal Canadiens blitzed his Buffalo Sabres 6-1 last night. Patrick Laine scored 3 power play goals for the hosts. He's got, is it 9 goals in 7 games? Yeah, 9 goals in 7 games for Laine. Dylan Cousins scored for Buffalo, who's now lost 11 straight. So of the 2 that I got wrong last night, one was that game. You correctly picked that Montreal would win it. I just thought the Sabres would get their act together, and I was sorely mistaken. What made you know that Montreal was going to beat them?
Well, my first thought was they had this meeting with the owner, all this stuff. They're going to be playing guilty, and Buffalo's going to win. That was my first thought. And then I thought, no, they've been knowing that this has been going off the rails for a while. And, you know, I saw somebody put on social media, it might have been one of the networks like TSN, which team would you rather have, the rebuilding team, Buffalo or Montreal? And I'm like, I think Montreal's more exciting. They got more upside. And I like that. I just didn't see Buffalo getting it together. The more we talked about it on this show, the less I was convinced that Buffalo was going to turn it around last night.
Well, it's kind of ugly. It kind of dovetails into our third point, and it's our poll question today for EMJ Marketing. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, go to emjmarketing.com. Have a look at the roster there. They'll provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Contact Joe at emjmarketing.com. Who's the biggest dumpster fire right now in sports? Those Buffalo Sabres who, again, met with the owner, flew in to meet with the players, and they decided nothing needs to be changed. The answers are in this room. I told you yesterday, no, they're not. No, they're not. And then they went out and proved it. Sabres, New York Jets, Las Vegas Raiders are New York Giants. And the people that are older that are watching this show will understand, because I've been around this a long time. You kind of get to a point where I've seen everything. So now what? I've done it all. I've been with good teams, bad teams, mediocre teams. When you're a dumpster fire like this, Darren, there is only one thing to do. And by the way, I voted for the Raiders. For me, it's the Las Vegas Raiders. 2 wins, 10 losses in a row. It's the Raiders. That's an ugly list there. Okay, Sabres have the longest non-playoff streak on the continent in the NHL. Jets in the NFL. Raiders may end up catching them. But for me, it's the Raiders. And the only way out of this is just a massive bomb. It's either selling the team, which these NFL owners aren't going to do, getting rid of everybody. But a lot of times, I saw Tony Kornheiser say this on Pardon the Interruption the other day, and I couldn't believe he said it. He goes, the owners are dumb. I'm like, yes, at least somebody else is saying it. For guys that made billions, they're not that bright. Not when it comes to running sports teams. Terry Pagula, great motivational speaker he is, comes in and addresses the team, and they lose 6-1. So they're all dumpster fires. I'm just saying, what's the worst? For me, it's the Raiders. How about you?
I don't know.
What?
I go to the Jets, and it's just like, in Woody Johnson, it hasn't gone well under the owner of the New York Jets, and there's a lot of dysfunction there. But I look at the team, and there's a lot of talent on that roster. So I'm like, they're not that far away. They could go from 0 to hero pretty fast. Buffalo, there's some good players there too. And if they ever figured out what the one missing, they could turn it around. I'm going to go with the New York Giants, because outside of Malik Neighbors, they don't have anything. They don't have any players. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have any weapons. Defense isn't very good. And you're in the National Football League, and you were a 16.5-point underdog on Sunday. Like, this is an NFL. We don't have point spreads like that. It's not college. Like, that's as bad as it gets with the Giants.
There's no wrong answer either. That's Darren's answer is the Giants. Mine is the Raiders. And, everybody come on, turn up the heat, get settled, fill up your coffee. This is fun. I knew it would be fun today. The very first point of all this was, is there too much sports right now? Which the answer is yes. But the thing is, you do you. That's why I stress, you do you. I was doing me Monday night, watching the NFL countdown for Monday Night Football. And it was the Raiders and the Falcons. Well, who was meeting at midfield? Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, and is it Mike Davis? Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders. Mike Davis runs the indoor football team in Vegas, friend of mine. Mark Davis with his pumpkin haircut. Here's the two. He looks like a pumpkin, right? Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders. It does.
Yes.
It looks like you can pop a pumpkin off his head. I'm sorry. You shouldn't make fun of other people's appearance. I know that's immature, bad, Rod, but come on.
At least spike it up.
I don't even do something. I see a lot of these people. There was a gal who worked in the jewelry store in the Southland Mall. A lot of people will know what I'm talking about. And I had the worst haircut. It looked like a helmet with a mullet. And I'm like, who is your hairdresser? Do you not have friends? Does Mark Davis not have friends? And say, guy, you own the Las Vegas Raiders. You're wearing mum jeans. You got at the sand store. You got a pumpkin haircut. For the love of God.
That's hot.
And the reason that I think the Raiders are such a dumpster fire is because I was in Las Vegas for a Super Bowl and I got the lowdown from all the football people down there. Mike Davis wasn't one of them. It was other people. I know where Mark Davis, where he hangs out, what's his watering hole in Vegas. I heard the whole thing. They're a joke, the Raiders. Again, this is picking from a bad lot. Bomber Boy writes in, he says, too much sports? Blasphemous statement on a sports show. I know you're being facetious when you say that. All I'm saying is, at the risk of blowing up on people, because I don't want to do that, but Kirk from Toronto wrote in after the CFL Division semifinals this year, and he was like, how could you not watch the Argo game? Well, I spent 3 hours in front of my laptop watching the Riders play BC. Damn sure wasn't going to spend 6 hours in front of my laptop. Back off. That's my whole point is I'll watch what I want to watch. You watch what you want to watch. We'll come together here at noon Eastern and decide whether we match up or not. That's all. But don't judge other people for their sports watching, which reminds me, what is your routine, Darren? Because sometimes I get out of my routine. I get up in the morning. I like to read my Yahoo email. Has all the sports listed there. Like, for instance, the Blue Jays thing. There's a lot of baseball people dying to talk about that. We're not going to be talking about that here. That's a whole other thing that's going on. These leagues are battling to stay relevant 12 months. We just can't. So I get up, I read the NHL PR, game notes if I can, the Yahoo Sports email. That's it. I still get mine from the web. I'm old school. And if I have time, I turn on NHL Network because they do a really good job of the highlights. Serena just reads her phone. She's that much younger than me. What's your routine in the morning to get caught up on everything?
Yeah, it's literally I'm not in a hurry to get going in the morning, as you know, a night owl. So I like to have a coffee. I don't stay in bed, but I stay in bed. I have my coffee, I got Sports Center on, I got my phone scrolling, just check the Score app and see what's new and what's popping and check the notifications, little surf of social media. And that kind of gets me ready for the day.
Well, it's where I realized not how important, but how big of a deal sports betting is, or what we do here, sport betting. I check the scores of the NHL to see who won our competition. I call it sport betting because it's like sport fishing. You throw the fish back. Here, we don't put money on the line, but that's where betting is a big factor of what we all do here. And, tonight is the Boca Bowl. There's 2 bowl games tonight, for the love of Pete. I'm not done talking about this. As Darren said, this upcoming Saturday could be the greatest one day in college football history because there's a big triple header of college football playoff games. But tonight, it's the Boca Raton Bowl here. Western Kentucky versus James Madison University. 5:30 kickoff. You can watch it on TSN or here in the States, the main ESPN network. It's just another thing. But I'm not going to that. I've gone to the last 2 Boca Bowls. I have no connection to this game tonight, and it's supposed to rain. And then it's the LA Bowl later tonight, and it's Cal versus UNLV. Doubleheader bowl games tonight. My God. I think we have the answer to, is there too much sports now? More bowl games than ever, more college football playoff games than ever, more. You can see why it's driving some people crazy. 902-518-3033 is the text line. Answer our question. Is there too much sports, or is it just enough for you all? There's that possibility, too. Streaming chat is open. When we come back, there was a big trade in the Canadian Football League yesterday. We'll get to that. We might look to tonight's NHL news. They handed out the NBA Cup last night. Did you know? What, you weren't watching? What's wrong with you? We'll be back in a moment here on Game Plus. Streaming live, as I said, and podcast, wherever the best podcasts are found.
sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Raj Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
And we're at it. Back at it, I should say. And hour one is for Culligan Water. Drink clean, live green, filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit culliganregina.com. By the way, interesting note about that. My friend Jared's working with Culligan Regina. Let's bring the moose in. I didn't really realize how important it is to have clean water. Who knew? He was telling me some stories. We all just go to work and they got Culligan Water on the tap, right? The boss pays for it. You probably should have it at home, too. I've realized it's very important that you do. By the way, Darren, I appreciate everybody chiming in on the discussion here of where sports is, where it's going. Is there too much? Bob is watching in Saskatoon. He writes in on the 902-518-3033 line. He goes, the NFL smells blood in the water. NBA is playing in empty stadiums. NFL will own Christmas. And that reminds me of something. 2012 World Juniors. I guess it was 2011 Christmas. I was driving from Regina to Edmonton to broadcast the game on Sportsnet on Christmas Day. And I remember racing through Saskatoon, literally, Christmas Day, and I was listening to NBA games the whole way on ESPN radio. I finally, Darren, got around North Idlewild. I want to say around where that McDonald's is, maybe the Travelodge. There's a cop behind me with his lights going, woo, woo, woo. Pull over. He goes, I've been following you since downtown 20th Street, just waiting for you to realize I was behind you. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I've been listening to the NBA. And he let me go. because he knew me. But that's my point, is that Christmas was the NBA's day, sports-wise. And as you put in your column, the NHL lets them have it. They don't play on it. But how do you feel about the NFL? Just like, if they're going to want it, they're going to take it. Do you think they're going to take it?
Yeah, they're going to take it. For sure they are, because the ratings are going to be high. The NBA ratings are in the toilet, and they're having a really tough stretch here of ratings going down. So they're going to have to find their own new thing, potentially. And people talked about this at U.S. Thanksgiving. We have the traditions of U.S. Thanksgiving. There's a game in Detroit. There's a game in Dallas every year. And, of course, there's some squeaky wheels that say, well, why can't we give this in other places? Why don't we give other cities a shot to host this? Because that's the tradition. We've built the tradition for decades. Like, that is what it is. So people plan. That's what Thanksgiving is in Dallas for football fans. You go to the game or you tailgate, you watch the game. In other markets, it's watching it on TV, right? We don't always have to change for the sake of change, and we don't need to be everywhere for everything for everybody. It can be too much.
Well, and then again, this was the year they introduced the Black Friday game. And the Chiefs were playing, I think, the Raiders, right, on that Friday. So it's just the NFL, man. They're the big bullies on the block, and nobody seems to mind. How about that? I don't. How
about that?
Regarding what's the biggest dumpster fire? That's our poll question for EMJ Marketing today. The Buffalo Sabres, New York Jets, New York Giants, or Las Vegas Raiders? Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, the Sabres are the biggest crap show at the moment. And that's saying something. Because as a Raiders fan, I look at that franchise as a complete dumpster fire right now. Utah, I think the Raiders are a bigger dumpster fire than Buffalo. In that, I don't know that the Raiders can be fixed. They don't want to be fixed. Whereas the Sabres, they want to get better, but they don't know how. There is a difference. You know, again, the rink's empty in Buffalo. If you watch any of the Sabres games, that's bad. The NFL, it's really bad when you have a bad team that knows it and don't want to do anything about it because they're making money anyways, right? That's the really ugly trap that you get into. You're going to make money whether you win or lose. It's human nature, I think, for the teams and the owners to say, why do we care? Why would we get better? Utah Darren writes in, he says, good morning from still snowless Salt Lake City. Love the tree and green shirt, Moose. Is your shirt green? Looks black to me.
It's black, but okay.
That's what I thought. Adjust your set down there in Utah. Kevin writes in and he says, Buffalo is a disappointment to say the least. A lot of good young players, but can't get it together. Taylor in Calgary says, Buffalo hasn't even had a sniff of playoff hockey in like 13 years. It has to be Buffalo. Okay, fair. We're just taking everybody's opinions here. And by the way, told you I like that email that I get every day from yahoo.com. I read it every morning, and I love it because it's news I don't get necessarily anywhere else. From the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons are benching Kirk Cousins in favor of rookie Michael Penix Jr., who will make his debut as a starter on Sunday against the Giants. In MLB, the Yankees landed former MVP Cody Bellinger in a trade with the Cubs, marking their first step in rebuilding after their rebuilding their offense after post Juan Soto. And in the NBA is officially replacing the traditional All-Star game format with a 4-team pickup-style tournament, which will debut this February in San Francisco. So we can pick up on all of those, but just so you know, even the big four, like the NFL, the NBA, they do step in it sometimes, or they do change things. But I know there's a lot of CFL fans that have showed up here today wanting to hear this. It is our fourth point officially. The Montreal Alouettes dealt 2023 Grey Cup MVP Cody Fajardo to the Edmonton Elks on Tuesday for the rights to veteran quarterback McLeod Bethel Thompson, who was a two-time CFL champion. Bethel Thompson completed his first season with Edmonton last year and is slated to become a free agent on February 11th. So the deal is this. The hardcores know it. Cody Fajardo's under contract. He's going from Montreal to Edmonton. McLeod Bethel Thompson was there, but his contract's up in February, so Montreal gets him now, and they can either sign him or lose him when he becomes a free agent. So the rumor was that Cody was going to go to Edmonton anyways, so when I saw the trade was made, it didn't really surprise me. A few things that came to mind with me on this was, why did Macbeth retire? a couple of years ago anyways. I heard the rumor was that his wife didn't want him to play anymore and they had a young baby, which God bless him for doing so. He's a great guy, but he ended coming back playing anyways to Edmonton. I'm sure he wished he stayed retired. So Cody's going up there. I will say this, write it down. If you try to make sense of what's going on in sports, you might as well just pee into the wind because you're not going to, it doesn't make sense. So stop. Here's Fajardo going to Edmonton as a backup. He said in his social media, I didn't expect it to end this way in Montreal. How many of us really expect it to end the way we expect it anyways? It never does. So just hang on for the ride. I don't think Cody's upset. He's like, oh, here we go. Here's another kick in the balls. As I said in my commentary this morning, he's going to have a hell of a story when his career's over. So what do you think about this trade?
Yeah, he really is. I mean, I think when the Davis Alexander stuff came out and the signing and the comments from Danny Machocha, I think the writing was on the wall. And I think if Cody expected to stay in Montreal, I think that was probably unhealthy expectation. And somebody's got to do a better job of those expectations. I think we knew he was going to get moved somewhere or potentially released. And he goes to Edmonton, where I think there's a good opportunity there. I mean, for Trey Ford, you don't want to go into the season again in another competition, in another spot where you might not be the guy or really get your opportunity. And I think this is a situation where Cody, not that other guys aren't good teammates, but we know Cody, and he just seems like he's got the right mindset, like he's going to be a good teammate, like he's going to go in there and support Trey Ford and work with him. And in the Canadian Football League, in football, in sports, you need a second option. You need to have if you want to win, you need to have somebody capable, ready to go. Cody's very capable. We've seen that. Recently won the Grey Cup, and he's going to play. He's going to get an opportunity to play. Trey Ford, even if he's number one, is not going to play every game, and this team is on the rise. So I think it's a healthy, good environment for Cody to be in.
Can I just say, if you need two quarterbacks that can win you games, why would Montreal move on from him then? Was it too big of a kick in the pills to swallow to stay there? Maybe. That's a devil's advocate question.
It's tough to, have the guy who's been demoted and just won you the Grey Cup, and he's wondering, why am I demoted? I won you a Grey Cup. Like, just because I didn't win again 2 in a row, I'm getting demoted? Who wins 2 in a row? Like, it's not like that's the expectation, So it's just a distraction. I think there's a lot there just hanging over the organization. You don't need it.
That's why it's fun following the CFL, but very, very, very difficult covering the CFL. And for those that have just came in and missed what we were talking about earlier, I was on that Winnipeg podcast last night with Derek Lohan, and it was largely talking about mental health. It was great in my role as a recovery coach there. But he goes, who do you think is going to be the offensive coordinator in Winnipeg and BC? I'm like, I don't know, man. I've spent zero time thinking about it. And that's not a shot at the CFL, but Jim Barker on this show a couple of weeks ago said that Chris Jones was back as the defensive coordinator in Hamilton. And now the report comes out that Brent Monson's going there. So, I don't know, guys. Figure it all out. Confusing, and that's the stuff that I'm not here for, that I hate about the offseason. Call a news conference. We'll cover it. Speculation, don't have time. The poll question, by the way, is an interesting split. Who's the biggest dumpster fire for EMJ Marketing? EMJ Marketing will provide the perfect keynote speaker for your event. Go to emjmarketing.com and look up Joe there. Your options are the Buffalo Sabres. They lead with 44%. They're the biggest dumpster fire in sports right now. 28% say the New York Jets. 21% say the New York Giants. And 7% say the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm just putting it out there. Now, having said all that, when I say not everything makes sense in sports, that's not limited specifically, exclusively to the CFL. I'm not the biggest Atlanta Falcons fan, but I don't understand. That was the game I watched the other night. And while Kirk Cousins wasn't perfect, they won the damn game, 15-9. What do you know about the Falcons deciding to sit down Kirk Cousins and give Michael Penix a try when they still have a chance to win the NFC South? What am I missing?
They have a chance to win the NFC South, but now it's becoming a long shot because Baker and the Bucs are becoming one of the hottest teams in the National Football League. You know, to put up, 37 points on the Chargers or whatever it was? I mean, unbelievable. They're playing well. And so you look at, geez, we can't keep up. And do we think Michael Penix is going to be a better shot to keep up than Kirk Cousins? I don't know if that's realistic. But here's an opportunity where your season's on the line to see what you have in the young quarterback. What was the 8th overall to the Falcons? In a low-risk situation, you're playing the Giants. So even if we trotted out Darren Dupont or Rod Pedersen at quarterback, we're probably going to beat the Giants. So let's put the kid in here in a pretty safe environment where we've got a little safety net and let him go play. Even if he doesn't complete a pass, he can hand the ball off 30, 40, 50 times. We'll still beat the Giants. And if he does really well, maybe he can ignite and save the season. If he doesn't, we're going to win the game anyway, and then we go back to Kirk Cousins the next week. So I think this is kind of a good opportunity to see what you have with a low-risk week.
Yeah, well, to take it one step further, the pundits here, where they think they know football more than anybody, and maybe they do, this is the Falcons waving the white flag saying, we screwed up giving all that guaranteed money to Kirk Cousins, and this is a Falcons thing to do. But I think that's just people being negative. There's a few of those in the media, too. Negative Nelsons, as John Frenzy would say. All right, Moose, I'll see you in hour 2. Good job. Skippy.
Later.
All right, Colin Patterson's coming in next. Calgary Flames alum. Oh, and a Sabres alum, too. Now that I think about it, he might have some thoughts. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live, and, of course, podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Skate into the holiday season with the Stars. Stars on Ice 2024 Holiday Tour. With figure skating icon Elvis Stoico, Olympic medalist Caitlin Osmond, Caitlin Weaver and Andrew Poche, Keegan Messing, Satoko Miyahara, and more. Stars on Ice. Coming to Moose Jaw Event Center December 20th. Unwrap your tickets at starsonice.ca.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
RP show continues, and by the way, fans, join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Colin Patterson signed up for it. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, contests, and exclusive content, including my popular 10 Things column, delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpeterson.com. That's right, Colin Patterson, Flames alum, and whether he's admitting it today, Sabres alum. How you doing?
Yes, I am admitting it today. Excellent, Rod. How are you? How was your steak dinner the other night, by the way?
I was good until I added the key lime pie at the end, and it was a long night. It was a long night, but thanks for asking. And thanks to Brent from Wellington, Florida for the surprise steak. Yeah, thanks, Patty, for paying attention. Listen, our poll question, what's the biggest dumpster fire? Sabres, Jets, Giants, or Raiders among the teams? How tough is it watching your Sabres go through this, Colin?
It's really tough, especially when you see what Ottawa's doing. Ottawa and the Sabres were very similar. Lots of young talent that hadn't really, come to the front and played like they should. And then you watch Ottawa go on a 6-game winning streak. You watch Buffalo just head the other way. So it is disappointing. I don't know, what it is. Lindy Ruff's a great coach. They've got great ownership. The guys, it's in the dressing room. You got to pick it up.
Absolutely. And to be honest, let's talk about something more positive. Your Flames, which I see you so busy representing the Alumni. They're in a playoff spot today, and we're almost at Christmas. So how far is this thing going to go, do you think?
Well, I hope they can keep competing for a playoff spot. I mean, they've got a hardworking team, and that's going to be their identity is hardworking. I think sometimes where they fall back is they don't work for that full 60 minutes, and that's what catches up with them. To me, they're a team that, it's the old adage, 5 feet inside your own blue line, you can't lose a puck, you got to get it out. And 5 feet outside the other team's blue line, you got to get it in. And sometimes they make the fatal error of, trying to make that extra move in those particular areas, and they get caught. And they're not a team that can come back from being 2 or 3 down all the time. Maybe once in a while, but they don't have that firepower. It's by committee.
Yeah, well, you played a long time, Colin. I'm not saying you're old, but they're just kids.
I'm old.
They're learning. Yeah, so they're in a playoff spot now, learning these lessons. That's my point. Maybe they won't make the playoffs this year or not. But where they're going seems really bright. Agree or disagree?
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I like what they have. I like the younger players coming in. I like the effort that everybody's giving. And I think that's key. I love a guy like Ryan Lomberg coming in and coming back to Calgary. And he is, he scored last night. He just had a baby. I mean, just lots of good things about him. But he's a team guy. And that's what they need. They need everybody to be a team guy. And if they do, then I think they'll make the playoffs. Whether, how far they go depends. But their goaltending's been very good. I mean, both Vladar and Wolf have played very well. Dustin has been very strong at every level he's played at. And now he's catching on to, how the NHL game works. And I think last year really helped him.
Yeah, well, listen, as well as I do, I spent a lot of time in Calgary the past few years. I was with you, so I know what those fans are like. If they're playing well, they don't give the coaches credit. But if they're not playing well, they dump all over the coaches. So let's say something about Ryan Huska here, and for that matter, Craig Conroy, right? They've done, obviously, a tremendous job.
Yeah, I think, starting with Ryan, coaching and getting everybody to buy in. The team didn't really have an identity the last, few years. And then, he's got them to be a team that, they're going to identify to be the identity of hardworking. And that's what people want, and I think that no matter whether you win or lose, if you're a hardworking team, people can forget or forgive you on the losses. Yeah. Craig Conroy has done a fantastic job of dealing assets and bringing in, either players that can fit in right away or players that they have in the minors or in junior hockey that I think are going to really help this team long term. And I think he's done a fantastic job. He's stocked the shelves again.
Well, just to swing this back to the Sabres a little bit, I said on the show the other day that I think they need to bring in some alumni. And to be honest, I said Matthew Barney because I'm close with Barney. It's like I'm close with Theo, as are you. Like, those are heart and soul guys that know what it takes to win, and they love the organization. And I just, with the Flames, Conroy's alum, and Ryan Huska might as well be because he's been around so long. Do you think the Sabres should investigate some alum, or am I completely barking up the wrong tree there?
No, I think, but they've got Lindy Ruff there. They've got, their GM is also an alum, Kevin. And, I don't know what's wrong with that team. There's something, but I don't know what it is. But I think you got to bring some other people in to take a look and help out and just figure out what is wrong with them. I just don't know. And I don't know if Lindy knows. And he's been around the game a long time. He loves Buffalo. He's a Sabre.
Maybe I should say new alumni. Yeah. What did you think
different
when you
alumni.
Heard that the owner flew in? I'm like, to me with a player, I couldn't stop laughing when I heard that.
Yeah, that's, when you have that happening, you know that the alarms are going off. And, the Pagula family is a great family, has done so much for Buffalo, obviously owner of the Bills as well. When they're talking, you better listen. And, I don't know if the kids are uptight or they just don't understand the situation that they're in and what it means to that city and the ownership.
Well, have you been on bad teams, Colin? Largely your time with the Flames, they were good. And I can't really remember early 90s with the Sabres with you. Like, what happens. It's like a workplace, a bad workplace. It's like, why would I try? He's not. This guy's being rewarded. He's an idiot. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and I've been fortunate that, I was never on a team that, wasn't in the playoffs through my somewhat brief but very mediocre career. But I can tell you what, when we were going into we lost in Game 6 in '89 in Vancouver, and Cliff Fletcher got on the bus. And Cliff never got on the bus to address the players. He got on the bus, told the bus driver to get off, and he talked to us. And everybody was paying attention because he said, if we don't win, there's going to be a lot of changes. And everybody was paid attention to that. And we went out and we were fortunate enough to win Game 7 and then go on to win the Cup. But when situations like that happen, you better, keep your ears open and your mouth shut and work as hard as you can.
Don Cherry called you the most underrated player in the NHL. Let's not be humble now, Colin. This isn't the place for that. Hey, listen, before we say goodbye, what's up with you, my guy? What other than a lot of Flames alumni appearances, what's going on with you?
Yeah, we have our 6th annual Calgary Flames Alumni Toy Drive going on right now. So we've been busy with that. We're at Mason Raymond's Cochrane GM dealership collecting toys last week, Lanny and I. Then we were at the Flames game against Florida collecting toys. Then we did our gift wrapping on Tuesday or yesterday, and that was pretty neat to get everybody in to wrap the gifts. We have about 26 to 28 families we're supporting. We have women in need that we're also supporting. We have Hull Family Services that we support, and then we have Ronald McDonald House and then From the Cold. All this from our toy drive. So very exciting and lots of fun. We have still have our superheroes of hockey going on that helps kids from sort of autism to Down syndrome and everything in between and outside play hockey and learn to skate. So that happens every Sunday. So that's a lot of fun. So we got lots going on with our alumni.
Good for you, man. It's awesome. And it worked out so great last year that I could be at your golf tournament in the middle of my Moose Jaw Millers taking on the Okotoks Dogs in the league final. It was a God shot that it all worked out together. So Merry Christmas, Colin. Thanks for the time today. Keep up the good stuff, man.
Thanks, Rod. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Merry Christmas
Flames
to you.
alum Colin Patterson and board member of the Breaking Free Foundation, the foundation that provides free counseling and support to trauma and abuse victims, founded by Theo. We'll be right back with a sports update after this. Alan May on the way in hour 2. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live as always, and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
From cash spiels to grand slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Back at it for a quickie segment, but some would say the best. Little viewer takeover and then a sports update. I got to apologize for Ron in Calgary. Ron Thompson writes in. He says, "Hey, Rod, can you ask Colin Patterson if he sees comparisons between Travis Wolf and Mike Vernon in his early years?" And I just saw it. Ugh. Next time we have a Flames alumni on, and God knows there's enough of them, we'll ask. You know what? I can shoot Patter a text and he'll answer it, and I'll pass that along next hour. How about that?
How about that?
He is a ray of sunshine, by the way, Colin Patterson. You understand there's people that just uplift you, that make you feel good when you're around them. Colin Patterson is one of those guys. I'll text him, and I'll get you the answer. And if I don't, remind me. Okay? Kirk in Toronto writes in. He says, "Hi, Rod. Brent Munson is going home to Hamilton as he is a McMaster alumni." Oh, and he goes on to say, "What happens to Chris Jones now that Hamilton has signed Munson as their defensive coordinator?" I don't know. To be honest, I was thinking about this on the other day, and I'm going to put it in my Weekend 10 Things column, which goes in the RP Show newsletter. Sign up for free at rodpeterson.com. The Chris Jones group, I don't want to say much more because I don't want to save it for the column, but it seems to have been smashed. Jarius Jackson not coaching in Edmonton this year. G-Roy Simon, well, G-Roy's not really a Jones guy, although he was hired in Edmonton. Craig Dickinson's now with Calgary. That it just seems to have evaporated. See if it reconvenes anywhere else. Sports update. Yana sent it to Kimco. The Greek Freak scored 26 points to go along with 19 rebounds. Damian Lillard added 23. And the Milwaukee Bucks connected on 17 three-pointers on the way to beat Oklahoma City. 97-81 in the NBA Cup title game last night in Las Vegas. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of Hamilton, Ontario, scored 21 points for the Thunder. Michael Vick has agreed to become the head coach at Norfolk State in a return to football for the former NFL star who has never coached at any level. The 44-year-old Vick announced on his Facebook page last night that he's accepted the job. Vick starred in college at Virginia Tech and was a four-time Pro Bowler in 13 seasons for Atlanta, Philadelphia, the Jets, and Pittsburgh. He served 18 months in federal prison after pleading guilty to his role in a dogfighting ring. And if you think that's funny, because it's not, with my group of friends here in South Florida, let's just call them the recovery group. We got a guy by the name of Prison Dave, who I've gotten to be quite close with. He's a great guy. And he's like, "Rod, one day in prison is hell. One day. One day feels like 3 weeks." He did 17 years. Vic did a year and a half. Whoosh. There's no doubt he learned his lesson. Certainly seems like he has. Sports Update is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas now, the movie Red One. After Santa Claus, codenamed Red One, is kidnapped, the North Pole's head of security, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, must team up with the world's most infamous bounty hunter, played by Chris Evans, in a globe-trotting, action-packed mission to save Christmas. Red One is in theaters now. By the way, I feel like they need to change the script on that. The world's most infamous bounty hunter's dog. We all know that. Next hour, Alan May is going to be with us. I feel like there's a lot of things that we're going to get into, and I got to text Colin Patterson, right? Thanks for reminding me, Ron. Not. We will be back after this brief pause here on Game Plus. Stick around.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how big of a fan of Patterson are you? I'm an 11 out of 10, and the literal translation of Roy is king. Part of the reason I love him so much is that we are very similar, and my guess is the book on Patterson would be very similar to what the book is on me. He's uncontrollable. My dad would be proud of that fact.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Guilty as charged. Thank you, Rick Regan. It's hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. We are on national television in Canada. That's Game Plus. Also airing in 32 states. And Moose is there. He is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And Moose, you'll have to apologize. Sorry, I'll have to apologize early to you and the viewers. I pounded another cereal bar in the break, granola bar, and it's kind of caught up in my teeth. And here we are. Here we are. So if you know how it is. What's up, man? What's on your mind as we set sail on this pre-Christmas episode of the show?
We don't need to get into it, but it had me thinking about the golf last night that I wrote about in the column. So just another plug for the column. If you want to write up, go to rodpedersen.com and read it. The big golf match, and they had the live on-course interviews. And Charles Barkley, I think it was, or one of the analysts asked Rory McIlroy, because he was eating a granola bar. He said, "What do you eat during a round of golf? Like, what is it, And he's like, "Just enough. I need to maintain my energy throughout the round." He's like, "I probably have a couple granola bars, 2 protein shakes, and a piece of fruit." He's like, "All told, I probably have 1,200 calories during a round of golf to keep my energy up." And it's like, oh, they burn a lot of calories. And it made me want to ask you, as you're talking about the granola bar, What do you eat during the show, Rod, and drink during the show to keep your energy up for 2 hours? You know, you're burning a lot of calories here.
Well, today, coffee. Not every day it's a Dunkin', but most days. And by the way, just to back that up for a second, a few things. I'd like to tell everybody to go to rodpeterson.com right now. Twice voted Canada's sports blog of the year. Over 40 million served all time. It's kind of a big deal. And Darren has the top column posted there right now at rodpeterson.com. And you brought up, whatever we're going to call it, the match from last night. And the only reason I even knew what you're talking about was I was surfing through the TV channel guide, looking for something. And what did I settle on? What I always settle on, 2.5 Men reruns. I watch it every, hello.
Yes.
But it's like the match, right, with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and Charles Barkley, whatever the hell, right? This is the latest one of those. Am I right in saying that? It was a celebrity match. What was it?
Yeah, it was called The Showdown, and it was billed as Liv versus PGA. They used to do The Showdown. Tiger Woods, when he was number one, he would always take on the number 2 player in the world. It was Phil Mickelson, David Duval, and it was under the lights at Shadow Creek in Vegas at night. It was, you know, they had these epic matches, kind of like the match when we had Brady and Peyton Manning with Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods, and that was great. And it was billed up as Liv versus PGA. They got them to agree to do it. And I'm kind of fired up about it because this should have been the greatest thing in golf. It should have been the NWO or WCW versus WWF. It should have been the most intense, we hate each other, bragging rights on the line of all time. And it was a complete dud, air out of the balloon. Nobody even cared. It like came and went and nobody even knew it was happening. I didn't see a commercial. I didn't see a social media post. Like it was nothing. And it should have been epic.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know anything about it at all, but I don't follow golf stuff. And what I hate about these bloody social media algorithms is it's not showing up in my feed anymore because I'm searching NFL, NHL, CFL. That's all I'm really into, but I kind of like to know what else is going on. And the only reason I saw that it was on the channel grid last night. So thanks for that. Now, I promised Ron Thompson in Calgary, huge Flames fan. And they, listen, man, I never thought the Flames would be in a playoff spot this late into the season. They're very excited in Calgary, and they should be. And I miss Calgary, but I'll be there next summer. Ron said, can you ask Colin Patterson, who was on with us last hour, Stanley Cup champion with the Flames, if he sees any similarities between Dustin Wolf, their current goalie, and Mike Vernon, the Hall of Fame goalie that they won the Stanley Cup with in '89. You're going to like this, Darren. Colin responded, both are considered smaller goalies for their era, but Wolf could eat a watermelon off of Verney's head.
How about that?
I don't know if he knows that I'm gonna read this verbatim, but I am. He goes, truly, they are both competitors that are quick and challenge the shooter. So that's hockey lingo. To spit it out for all those that don't get it, they're both very similar, but Wolf's taller. Thanks for having me on. Hope you and Serena have a good Christmas. He says it'll be a better one for you now that her Oilers are winning. Can I just write him back? Don't remind me.
Of course you can.
Yeah. There we go.
Because if you don't do it now, you're not going to reply to him at all. At least that's how I
had a guy, he's probably watching right now. Like, I can write him back, don't remind me. Patter's not going to get offended with my terse tone. It's like Perry Shockey, last time we talked on the phone a couple of weeks ago, hockey guy down there in Lethbridge. He's like, Rod, you're what I would call a low-maintenance friend. And I said, what's that? He's like, I don't need to check up on you. I can call you once every 6 months, and you're good. You're not wondering where I've been or why I didn't call. That's right. And Patter's the same. We all need those low-maintenance friends, right? Not ones that need to be kept up with. But I will say this.
Yeah.
He invited me to basically, Shockey did, this country music festival in Montana. And I could go back and read the text. But he's like, all the hockey guys are going to be there. The Dean Chanels, the Murray Cravens, the Rod Buskuses, the Sutters. That, our gang, right? And I kind of didn't really have the heart. It's like Yellowstone meets Yellowstone. And I'm like, 20 years ago, that would have been right in my wheelhouse. I'd have been coming home from that in a box, probably. Now, not really my scene. But have you watched the last season, and dare I say episode of Yellowstone? Because we just watched it. You haven't? Will you? You're not a Paramount Plus guy, right?
No, and that's the problem is Yellowstone used to be, I don't know if it was on Prime or Netflix or one of the ones that we had, and we don't have it. So I'm a season or a season and a half behind. So once we finish, we don't want to have too many subscriptions on this. So once we finish a show, we're going to drop our, let's say, our Apple subscription, and we're going to get Paramount Plus and then focus on that because we got like 4 shows lined up on Paramount we got to watch.
You know, it's interesting you say that. We wrapped up Yellowstone. I was very disappointed in the ending. That's all I'll say. And just the way that they did it was very hokey. And I'm very much enjoying Landman, like a hell of a lot. Potentially more than Yellowstone. Far more believable. But anyways, right on cue. Literally, I wonder if Vintage Sasko, formerly known as Fake Gainer, is reading my diary because he knew exactly what I wanted to talk about this hour. He has written in on the text line, 902-518-3033. He says, hi, Uncle Rod, which, by the way, I think we're the same age, but whatever. He goes, I'm just pounding some ravioli and watching another great show. Question, what are you more interested in? College football playoffs or World Juniors? Also, does Moose cook his ravioli in the microwave or the oven? Blessings, Vintage Sasko. I'm going to say this again. Go read Darren's column because you intricately went into the college football playoff and what your predictions are and all the rest. And it's been a distracting week for me. Let's put it away from this show. Not bad, just a distracting week. So I haven't been on point with everything that I would normally be. I will probably be more into the college football playoff, but I'm not sure. Here's the difference between me and Darren. I live one day at a time. You are like everybody else. Project, you're looking, planning. I can't. I'm focused on today, and it works for me. So I don't know. Maybe next week I'll be more into the World Juniors. I'm not sure. What I will guarantee you is we'll be watching all the World Juniors because Serena plans her life around the Canadian games. So we'll be watching it. The dream for her was being in attendance live a couple years ago in Edmonton. That was really great. It's pretty even. But I'm not going to be breaking my ankle to see either one. Do you know what I mean? It's on, I'll watch. But I'm not sitting here like everybody else thinking about it. Like, for God's sakes, I got Panthers fans writing me, Darren. And that's not their fault. We're doing our Cats and Bolts podcast taping later today. They're like, what do you think is going to happen? The Panthers and Lightning are playing home and home Sunday, Monday. What's going to happen? I'm like, I'll get to you. Take a number. You know what I mean? It's all my own fault. I've invited this all, but I'll worry about the college football playoff come Friday night when it starts, is kind of my answer. Sorry. What's yours?
It's the college football playoff. And for me, especially when it comes to Christmas, it's bowl season football. Like, I used to watch the obscure bowl games, and I'd sit, everybody would go to sleep, and I would, have a little cocktail in front of the Christmas tree at whatever hour because they were just kicking off in Hawaii in some obscure bowl between a Hawaii and San Jose State or whatever. And that's fun. So for me, it's football leading up because, hockey's done on the 23rd. And then once Christmas is over, we get to the 26th, it's World Juniors. That's my tradition, how I split. For me, the NFL barely used to register, but maybe that changes this year. I don't know.
It's moving in and it's taken over. And the one thing people really need to realize is I say it on this show all the time, the only thing that's constant is change. So you better roll with it. And the people that don't like change are pretty unhappy, grumpy people because it's going to change on you whether you like it or not. And what Darren's saying is the NFL's come in and taken over the holiday season. The NBA owned Christmas Day, NFL's taking it. And the other thing is in Canada, somebody wrote in to the website, there's a comment in there. Guy basically went off on SMU and where they came from and how they've risen to prominence from what they were before. And this relates to you. Are you surprised? Because there seems to be far more people interested in college football and specifically the playoff in Canada than there's ever been. Or has there always been and I didn't notice? What do you see?
I think there's always been some interest, but not at this level. It has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And, there's a lot of reasons that might be the case. One, I mean, obviously exposure is I think number one. Exposure, more people talking about it, more outlets talking about it. It's become very, very mainstream. And I think that's a big thing. And a little bit of envy. Like we all wish that Canadian university football, I'm the biggest guy to Canadian university football, I think, wishes that it was as big as U.S. college football and that those games mattered because the games are as entertaining. They're very entertaining. The athletes are great, all the rest. But it is fun and it is something that pro sports doesn't have, that college football feel.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I asked. It feels, well, a lot of it gets traced back to the TV networks. And if anybody thinks that mainstream media is dying, Elon Musk should stick to electric vehicles because he's wrong. The mainstream media still has its place. The crooked people in the mainstream media, they're the ones that are in trouble. But we're not. And I think the reason college football is becoming so much more prominence in Canada is because TSN's airing all the games. And they're covering it too. And let's also forget, there's more Canadians playing college football at high levels than there ever has been before. I can't imagine what the Curtis Rourke coverage is for Indiana going into their game against Notre Dame. So, and the other thing is, I just turned 52. It's not ancient, but it's not young. I don't plan my day anymore around what I'm going to watch at night. Sit down and what comes up on the guide, I pick one. Is that crazy? That's what I do.
No.
It's like this show.
Yeah.
People found this show by surfing through the channels. I hear it all the time. And the young people are finding it by searching on YouTube. I say, is there too much sports? I guess you said it in your column. I can answer this. Is there too much sports media? Abso-freaking-lutely. Thank God we're on Game Plus or we'd be just like everybody else. That's the one thing we have that they all don't. Largely, is that we're on television and people are finding us there. Utah Darren writes in and he says, sports betting has a huge influence in interest. Yeah, and we were talking about it last hour. How just our little sport betting segment, NHL Breakaway Bets, which we'll be playing next segment, has us interested in the NHL scores. We don't even have any money on the line. Imagine if you did. Chris Jarl writes in, hey, Chris, haven't heard from him in a while. He says, I miss headline sports. We saw highlights of all games in sports. Now it's just a bunch of fluff and talk on sports shows. Gee, thanks a lot. Well, I know. And by the way, who was part of that original crew that signed it on right here? Along with Elliot Friedman and Brian Duff and Sid Cicero and Sarah Orlesky. Just a wonderful, eclectic group. But what did I say? Things change. When it goes to highlights, by the way, if I want my highlights, I go to the NHL Network and we pay, Serena said, but I'm not even want to say how much we pay for the service to get the NHL Network, but she knows how much I want it. Plus our good friend Bill Lindsay's on there. That's what I do. If I really want to see the highlights, like the Panthers-Oilers game the other night, I go to NHL Network, I log on to it. I'm not going to go to YouTube. They tell me the kids are, Darren. Or they're going to their social media to see the highlights of the games. I'm not. I will go to a TV channel or I'll stream that TV channel. Where do you go to get your highlights if you really want to see them?
Yeah, I mean, SportsCenter in the morning is pretty good. We don't get the NHL Network in Canada. Now, I get the NHL Network, so I go to the NHL Network. But besides that, yeah, the social media, the NHL app is really good. They'll put the games up and the highlights. So if I really need a highlight of a game, I'll go to the NHL website to find the highlight.
It's not hard to find. But if I want the whole game, NHL Network is my go-to.
Yeah.
And just one other thing. We were talking the other day. There's that granola bar I was talking about. Mainstream media dying or whatever. It doesn't. And you just said you go to SportsCenter in the morning. Don't we all? Like, give me a break. Somewhere, somebody along the line, I read somewhere, oh, SportsCenter's in trouble because kids aren't watching it for highlights anymore. Biggest bunch of BS I ever heard. Fake news. It's not true. Look at the SportsCenter ratings. I don't have them, but I'm sure they're great. Tell me nobody's watching SportsCenter anymore. And regarding series finales, BW from Edmonton writes in and he says, Yellowstone was disappointing. Yeah, me too, bro. And he says, in the oil patch, I see so much of Landman in real life. I've never been in the patch. I've heard horrific things. Okay, I got a lot of friends. Oh, God, I know we got a break and we will right away. But Stu Grimson tells a story of how he was discovered. You know what it was? You got to kind of know Grimmer, speaking of the NHL Network, but he goes, he was at a fight, a street brawl in his hometown of Kamloops with a bunch of oil workers. He says this on the mic in the presentations we do. We call them rig pigs. Grimmer, you can't say that. But I guess you can because you're a 6'7" freak. So, yeah, the stories I've heard are horrible. What are you going to say?
No, I just I totally get it. We use that term all the time.
We call them rig pigs. Grimmer, we all call them rig pigs, okay? You can't. Never mind. We'll be back in a second. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming, and, of course, podcasts, wherever the best podcasts are found.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Getting after it, as we always are. Hour 2 is for our friends at Culligan. Clear water, clear choice. Filter out the bad and taste the good. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. Let's please bring the moose in. I'd want to largely turn this over to everybody in a viewer takeover segment because there's just so much going on. It's almost like we're not in season anymore. We got the NFL playing, we have the NHL playing, but baseball's not. But the free agency's going crazy. CFL's got the trade with Cody Fajardo going to Edmonton. We addressed all that, by the way, last hour. Rich in Edmonton writes in, he says, I switched to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episodes during the intermissions of Oiler games. That's the maximum of my attention span. I don't watch the intermissions. Don't at me. I got a lot of great friends on there. Kelly Rudy's a close one for me, but I'm just not taken with the intermissions. Randy from Winnipeg writes in, he says, I boycott regular mainstream news. I'm not the biggest fan of it either. But enough of that. I will say this, Darren. Here's a fun thing. Somehow or another, like these PR companies are doing their jobs, the good ones. Seek people like you and I out. And Kyle from Bodog emailed me. I want your take on this. And for that matter, all the viewers. Hi there. Rod, with rumblings emerging that the New York Rangers may look to trade young winger Capo Caco after being a healthy scratch this week, leading sportsbook Bodog has published odds on where he may end up. Please see below for the latest odds, including 4 Canadian teams among the favorites. Which team will Capo Caco get traded to? Chicago Blackhawks lead at plus 250. Calgary Flames plus 500. Columbus Blue Jackets plus 600. Buffalo Sabres plus 600. San Jose Sharks plus 600. St. Louis Blues, Nashville Predators, Vancouver Canucks, Colorado Avalanche, Winnipeg Jets, Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leaf. If you have any questions about the above, please let me know. Cheers, Kyle. That's from Bodog. Would you throw any change on that?
Yeah. I mean,
you would?
I think that's pretty exciting. And if we want to talk about Capo Caco for a second, here's a player who was a pretty high draft pick, a lot of potential as a prospect, and he's just not living up to it in New York. And I don't know if it's the same as somebody like Sam Reinhart, but Sam Reinhart comes to mind. And maybe you remember, because I don't, and maybe Clark remembers. What did the Panthers give up to get Sam Reinhart? Do you remember?
I don't even remember. I can look it up real fast. I mean, I was here when it happened. He was in Buffalo, right?
Yeah, he was drafted at Buffalo at number 1 overall. I'm curious.
Devin Levi in a 2022 first rounder.
Okay.
There you go.
So a pretty good goalie prospect and a high draft pick. So I get that. That's a good price. But it's not what you would expect the price to be for a first overall draft pick, right? So, fairly low price, I think, for a player who's now found his home and is a 50-goal scorer and among the best in the league. And Capo Caco could probably go to somewhere else at a low price and maybe blossom in a better environment. Chicago could be a great fit, a team that needs some good young talent to grow around Connor Bedard. So I think I love taking gambles on guys like this who have high upside. As long as the price is good, you got to find the right fit. And maybe it's not New York.
It's interesting you say that because all these teams, save for Calgary, are non-playoff teams, the top 6. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's on an expiring contract. Like, let's talk about another Sam Bennett. There's a article in Florida Hockey Now, which my friend George Richards runs and publishes, and he talked about how, I guess, with the Panthers just rolling through Canada, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver on their road trip, there's a lot of talk about Sam Bennett. Everybody loves him, OHL vet, right, alum. and whether he's going to be available at the trade deadline. Can we write it down today? Put down the date. I don't think Sam Bennett's going anywhere because these are the little things that a lot of people don't know at the Stanley Cup ring ceremony. Stick with me. Vincent Viola, the owner of the Panthers, stood there and handed out the rings one by one to the players. When you're the owner of the championship team, you get to do that. You get to do whatever the hell you want. And when he handed Sam Bennett his ring, he said, "You are the soul of this team." To Sam Bennett. Does that sound like a guy you trade away at the trade deadline or not?
No, it doesn't at all. And sometimes, like, he was good in Calgary too, but sometimes you need to find the right fit. And Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart, going to Florida has been the perfect fit. Why would you ever want to leave the player? And for the team, why would you ever want to get rid of them? Like, those are guys that when you find the right fit and it just is so naturally perfect and you excel, keep it. Don't trade it. Don't get rid of it. Don't go running for the most money somewhere else. Just enjoy this, because that's the type of relationship that lasts forever. These are the guys that become cherished alumni that stay in the community. So for Capo Caco, he's just got to find the right fit. Reinhart and Bennett have found it in Florida.
Yeah, well, and that goes into a few further things. Calgary, while not Buffalo, they still haven't been a Stanley Cup contender for a long time. And how Ryan Huska and Craig Conroy have gone about changing the culture there, and let's be honest, it had to change. I think it's changing. But when you see your former players go on to success elsewhere, you should look at yourself, but most teams do not. By the way, on the topic of getting in your face and tugging at your attention, I understand most people's inboxes probably don't look like mine and Darren's and Clark's, but here's one from Jason Hajdu, who is a Regina guy, but he's been gone forever. Was at UND, North Dakota, as their sports information director, and now he runs, or is the PR guy for College Hockey Inc. How about this? This is interesting, and the hockey people should love this. Arizona State University announced yesterday, that it will serve as the host institution for the men's 2025 Icebreaker Tournament. Notre Dame, Quinnipiac, and Alaska will also compete in the event scheduled for October 10th and 11th, or 10th to 11th, 2025 at ASU's Mullet Arena in Tempe. Now, a lot of people would say, who cares? And I wouldn't blame you. But hockey's still being played, okay, in the Valley of the Sun. This was a dream of Gary Drummond and Anthony LeBlanc, the president of the Coyotes and former owner. Yeah, this was a dream of theirs. They wanted either the World Juniors or the Frozen Four to be played. The Icebreaker, isn't that? It's the season opening tournament of the four conference leaders. But that's a pretty big deal. And before we play breakaway bets, do you have any thoughts on that other than the good PR people are finding us and we're talking about their stuff? And that's not like we're going to go to the Icebreaker tournament, but it's pretty damn exciting. Yeah, go ahead.
College hockey, college football, that atmosphere is great when it's done well. Like I'm dying to go to Michigan to watch football in the Big House, but I also want to watch the Wolverines play hockey and see that environment, because I've heard that's pretty great too. North Dakota, there's a lot of great places, college hockey, and watching a college game at Mullet Arena for that tournament would be a lot of fun. And it gets me back, the last point, to the golf thing again. You talked about it. You're like, I only get hockey, football in my thing because that's what I search. But you still got all the pub around the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul boxing bout, didn't you, on Netflix? You knew that was happening. They could have done this it should have been the same for the golf match.
I have no idea how they did it. And by the way, I'll just say this with the CFL, because again, we all love the league, and there's a lot of people watching this show that are CFL fans. You remember as far back as Commissioner Jeffrey Orridge, he's gone, now Ambrosie's gone, so whoever the next guy will be, I don't know what the next person's going to do, but I remember them saying, as far back as Orridge, our fans live in their phones. That's where we need to be. Agreed. What are you doing about it? I don't see them doing a lot of great things digitally, and they've been talking about it since at least 2015. I'd like to see a dedicated channel. I know they have their own YouTube channel, but make it good. And they fired Chris O'Leary yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Their lead writer, senior writer of the CFL.ca, abruptly terminated by the CFL. Oh, boy. Merry Christmas. A week before Christmas. 5 games. Let's play NHL Deal or No Deal sport betting. Moose, Philadelphia at Detroit tonight. Who do you like?
I'm on a stinker here. I think I've lost 2 breakaway bets in a row. I like Philly tonight.
Oh, no.
You're not having a good week. Okay, I'll take the Wings. Leafs at Stars. Let me guess. You're taking Toronto.
I'll take Toronto, but it's going to be a hell of a game.
Perfect. I'm taking Dallas. Stars. Florida at Minnesota. Wild for me.
I was going that way, but I'll take Florida. Momentum.
Okay. Vancouver at Utah. Apparently the Utah fans are upset with the brawling at the end of the last game for the Utah Hockey Club. Get used to it. Bunch of pansies.
Canucks.
Yeah, Canucks. I'll take Utah. They're trying to establish an identity. Winnipeg at Anaheim. Jets just played last night, winning at San Jose. I'll take the Ducks. You?
Okay, I'll take Winnipeg.
That was an easy one. All right. BW from Edmonton writes that he says, squirrel moment. Could RP show go to a 3rd hour in 2025? We're good, dog. Actually, we have a minute, which is an eternity in the television business. Paul in Humboldt writes in, he says, agreed, Randy, on the intermissions. Ron McLean's puns just confuse me. Yeah, well, again, we can't all like the same things. I like Ron McLean's puns. I like Ron. Been very good to us. He's an icon. You're going to miss him when he's gone. Yeah, he's good. Hockey Night in Canada has the best panel. If I'm going to watch, it's that. Or when Gretzky's on, everything stops in our house on TNT.
Yes.
It stops, you can imagine. Serena goes into a trance. What's the best panel?
Yeah, it's Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah. Okay, we're done. We got through everything. Moose, thanks for your time. Go do Moose
You
things.
bet. Thank you.
All right. Alumni's in next from Monumental Television Sports. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live as always, and of course podcasts, wherever the best podcasts are found.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
Canada's premier Junior A Hockey League deserves premier coverage, and at IKS Media, we have you covered for all things SJHL. SJHL Weekly on Monday, a live broadcast across our social media platforms. where we interview your favorite players and coaches from across the league and preview the upcoming week. And on Thursday, SJHL Insider, where we look ahead to the weekend that will be and cover everything going on across the league. Catch it all on our social media platforms or on sjhl.ca.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
RP Show continues on this Wednesday. Busy game in the NHL tonight with 5 games. Caps off. Alan May joins us from Monumental Sports. And by the way, Alan, I appreciate the time because from what I understand, you are moving into the booth. Has that happened yet? Has that been announced? What's up, man? I understand that there's a bit of a shift in the Capitals TV crew.
No, I still have my same duties, and nothing really happening right now. And it's just a matter of, holiday season and all the different things that go on around here. So the biggest thing we've got to present news is tomorrow the owner of the Washington Capitals is going to unveil the first phase of the renovations for the building. So that's the only thing I got planned in my near immediate future.
Well, you're following a pretty hot hockey team. Officially, I think the hottest team in the NHL, winners of 7 of their last 10, minus the loss in Chicago last night. But at some point, I think the Caps are 3rd overall in the NHL. At some point, we need to designate who's responsible for this. Who do you think it is?
I think the biggest thing is management and how they went out and methodically built the team. And I think it looks a lot like a Bill Belichick, the way he would go out for the New England Patriots. And he just looked for certain slots to fill on his team. And I thought the Caps were incredibly diligent in how they approached the offseason and what they wanted to do. And things went their way. They knew they needed to add another big centerman, a top 6 guy. And they found in Pierre-Luc Dubois. And they needed to get rid of a goalie that wasn't meshing well within their system. So they were able to move Darcy Kemper, get Dubois in here. But the biggest thing to me is the additions on defense. A couple years ago, they offered 2 first-rounders and a pretty good young defenseman for Jacob Chychrun. This year, they got rid of Nick Jensen and a 3rd rounder. They were able to get Jacob Chychrun. He's been phenomenal, 9 goals. I think he's got 20 points right now. He's had a really good season. He's had a couple of hiccup games, but there's not a player in the NHL who doesn't have those. But I just look at all the little roster segments, and everyone they've added is 6'2" or above, except for the hardest worker on the team, Andre Mangiapane. And I think when you're a smaller player, you have to be a standout somehow, some way, and certainly Andrew is.
It's funny you mentioned Chychrun because he's from Boca Raton, so I got a soft spot for him. I think he was -3 last night. What was the story on the loss to Chicago? What happened there?
They had. I'm not big on excuses, especially because I traveled by coach when I played. We'd stay over in a back-to-back road series. And you'd stay overnight after a game like they did in Dallas the other night. Then you'd get up in the morning. You'd have a bus about 8 or 9. Then you'd fly to the next city, scramble at a meal, go to the arena and play a game. And there were no excuses because that's what you're doing. The other night they had a little bit of a travel hiccup. They got into Chicago yesterday. Actually, they left Dallas at about 10 a.m., got to the hotel around 12:30 in the afternoon. So I guess their daily routine. They didn't play well. They didn't play intelligent hockey last night. I thought they were giving the puck away left and right in the first period. The second period was very undisciplined. They had about 8 minutes where they were shorthanded the entire time. They killed the penalties off, but they were awful. And then I thought in the third period, they just overpassed the puck. They clearly weren't mentally in it. And Chicago, with the new coach, I think they're 3-3 in the last 6 with him. So it's just one of those games. Anyone can beat anyone in the National Hockey League. And I too have a soft spot for Jacob Chychrun. His dad and I were mortal enemies when we played, and we've become really good friends since we quit playing. So, and I love the kid. I've wanted him on the Washington Capitol for years and years.
Rich Preston says that about Brian Sutter. He's like, I hated Brian Sutter, and now he's like my best friend. Isn't that odd how that happens?
Well, it's one of those things. The first time we ever played together, I got the best of him in a line brawl, and it was pretty dirty. I probably should have been suspended. I feel no remorse for what I did that night. But and then in the National Hockey League, I made the Washington Capitals as a result of fighting in my very first game in Philadelphia in preseason. I fought Jeff, I fought Jay Wells, and Terry Karpner, 6'6", 6'5", 6'4", 3 defensemen. And that's how I made the Washington Capitals. But after that, every time we played against each other, we were breaking sticks. Back when you cross-checked each other with the old wooden fiberglass stick, slashing, it was mayhem every game. And it went on that. I don't know how many fights we had all together. We both won decisively. We both lost decisively. And it's funny, the first text I got when Jacob was traded here was from Jeff Chychrun. He says, "We finally get to have that beer together." I looked down at my phone after. I couldn't believe the trade that had happened, but I was pumped, because our relationships are different in America with our teams because we're a regional broadcast. But basically, my network's also owned by my owner. Now, he purchased us 3 years ago. I'm still allowed to say whatever I want, but we do have a different relationship. I make a lot more money the longer my team plays. So I always want them to do very well, take away some of my lake time in the summer, and just keep going and going and going.
That's what people don't understand about being homers. The more our team wins, the more money we make. What don't you get? But the thing I have a tough time believing that Alan May and Jeff Chychrun would be sworn enemies because, listen, I could see you having an edge. Chick is Ward Cleaver. Man, he's like the nicest guy in the world. I'll probably see him this week, so I will bring this up.
Well, it's the same with everyone. Yeah, it's funny. When I get traded around the league, and there's different teams, and I get traded not so much to Washington, but all the minor league guys are scared of me. And then I got to the Caps. I don't think I'd ever had a tussle with anyone on the team, but Jeff Courtnall told all the guys that played with him in Boston and Edmonton briefly, and he told them what kind of guy I was off the ice, what kind of teammate I'd be on the ice. But when I get traded to Dallas, the first guy waiting for me was Shane Turlin, and we became best of friends there. And it's the same thing. I get traded to Calgary, and I'm hanging out with Sandy McCarthy every day, and we couldn't go past each other without slashing each other or taking a punch. And it's just how it goes in the game. But at the same time, the tough guys are generally misunderstood as how they play the game and why they do. They're used to taking care of their teammates, which makes them kind of a responsible citizen in the dressing room and on the ice. They take care of their communities. And it's the same. I've yet to meet a guy that I was mortal enemies with on the ice that wasn't a great guy off the ice. Gord Donnelly, I can't shake to this day, and I used to say things to him that I should be in jail for. And he and we just can't get enough of each other. We're always hanging out. We spent a lot of late nights together when we were teammates. But when I played against him, I couldn't do enough bad things.
You know what it is. It's respect. You did your job to the best of your ability. Everybody knows it. And I go through the same things in the media world, right? And guys respect that. Namaste. Lastly, you've been living like this. It's new to me, but like a Canadian living in the States. So when it comes to international hockey, I'm sure you're going to be wearing your red and white, man. What do you say around Washington when this Four Nations face-off drops the puck?
Well, usually what I want the U.S. and Canada to both put together teams that are deserving and having all the players deserve to be on the teams. And I can't really argue with any of the decisions, but, you know, my kids are American, my grandkids are American, but in our house in 2010, those Olympics in Vancouver, we were cheering for Sidney Crosby to score the golden goal. I will say that. And there are times when I'm upset with the way Team Canada's put together their World Junior team, the same with when the U.S. So sometimes I'm anti the team, but not North America. So I usually want, and always do want, one of the North American teams to win any type of international tournament.
Yeah, so we've established who you're cheering for. Me too. Who do you think's going to win?
I honestly think the U.S. is going to take this one. And it's so hard for me to bet against Sidney. I'm going like with Sidney Crosby more than anybody. So it's the hedge bet. Injuries will determine, but U.S. in net, their defensemen are big. They can all move the puck. Their forwards are all phenomenal. And I thought they put together a really good roster. But when you look at Canada, their top six, the way they, you know, they're going to have players playing on the wing. And I can't wait to see Crosby and McKinnon playing together. The different players that Canada's assembled. I'm excited to see who Connor McDavid plays with. And, you know, to me, all those things are exciting to see that the best hockey. I saw a game in 1983. I think it was the World, I don't know what it was called back then, Canada Cup or World Cup, whatever it was. And Canada-Russia was a preseason game. Canada won 3-2. They eventually lost, I think, the final game 8-0 or something horrible, maybe 6-0. And then I remember being in a Boston Bruins training camp in 1987 and watching that incredible game with Gretzky and Lemieux on the same line and all the different players, Messier, and the mishmash of players they put together. You know, that hockey is still the best to watch when you get the best of the best and they're going for it. I'd rather see a 2 or 3 week runway to play this tournament and have all of the other teams involved so you'd get a better brand of hockey. But I'm looking very forward to the Canada-U.S. clash.
We're over time, but just real quick, would the U.S. have even considered Jacob Chikrin? Because I think he's that good, but maybe I'm
Well, he's
biased.
having that good of a season right now. But I think what you're looking at with Rowensky and players like that, they're the kind of the perennial guys. They're big. You can't argue with anyone that the U.S. has put on the team. Look at John Carlson, who should be on the team with Ryan McDonough as two veteran players, but it's a sprint tournament. When I look at John Carlson, he should be on the team, but I understand that he's not because the guys in front of him are younger. They're putting up great numbers, are playing great two-way hockey. I look at Quinn Hughes. Who's going to argue with Quinn Hughes being on that team and the different players they have? So I think the U.S. did an incredible job. And unfortunately, really good hockey players can't make this sometimes. And Jacob's in that category of a really good hockey player that just fell a little bit short of being named to that roster.
Thanks for the explanation. Al, thanks for coming on. Merry Christmas, my friend. Talk to you in the new year.
See you soon. Merry Christmas.
Alan May of Monumental Sports, Washington. We'll be right back with Overtime after this, live on Game Plus, streaming live, and podcasts wherever the best podcasts are found.
From cash spiels to Grand Slams, club competitions to world championships, there's a lot to keep up with on the pebbled ice. Stay up to date with the Hardline Curling Show, your weekly source for everything curling, with the latest event results, breaking news, interviews with players, executives, and insiders, plus behind-the-scenes access you won't get anywhere else. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube. Make sure you don't miss a thing.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
This is it. Overtime presented by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Do you have a winter birthday in your house? And if so, is that birthday boy or girl obsessed with hockey? Then Overtime Hockey Lanes has you covered with state-of-the-art equipment, spacious shooting lanes, games for all ages, licensed bar for mom and dad, and the friends. Check them out at Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary, 28th Street Northeast. Tell them the RP Show sent you. You can thank me later. This is the final segment, so now's the time to get your questions and comments in. And it's interesting, earlier in the week, I guess it was Monday, when I said, why did you stay to watch this show when you found it, whenever you did? And the resounding answer was the interactive part of it. And there is no other show, television, radio, or streaming, that where you can literally send a text in and get your question answered. And I'm particularly proud of that today, that Colin Patterson was on, Calgary Flames alumni, and the viewer Ron in Calgary said, can you ask Patter if he sees similarities between Wolf and Mike Vernon? And by the way, if you weren't watching, he said, yeah, except Wolf could eat a watermelon off Vernon's head. But yeah, their styles are very similar. Long ways to go to catch Verney, though. 2 Stanley Cup championships and a Hall of Fame induction. Gary in Penticton writes in, Gary with 2 R's. He says, instead of a 4 Nations tournament, why did they not have an original 6 tournament? Because this is what they wanted. That's all. I mean, there's a lot of interesting comments coming out of this 4 Nations. Canada, USA, Sweden, Finland. I guess if I had a chance, I would ask, how or why did you settle on these 4 countries? I think Russia's not there for obvious reasons. But why no Czechs? Why no Slovaks? Why no Latvia? I don't know. Can we just be happy with the 4 teams? That's all that I'm saying. I'm not saying you're not, but I mean, a tournament between the original 6 teams, that's called the playoffs. Unless you're talking about alumni, and that would be fun too, but that's not what we're doing here. This is like the 87 Canada Cup. This is like the 72 Summit Series. It's like the 96 World Cup. And now I'm realizing, can you pick a name and stick with it? Anyway, sports update. There are 5 games in the NHL tonight with 3 Canadian teams playing on the road. Leafs visit Dallas. Ducks host the Winnipeg Jets, league-leading Jets. And the Vancouver Canucks visit the Utah Hockey Club. I'm finding it hilarious that some Karens in Salt Lake City are upset that Utah's playing dirty hockey. The NBA takes a day off today, but returns on Thursday with 13 games. The 7-20 Toronto Raptors will be looking to end a 5-game slide when they host the 10-16 Brooklyn Nets. NFL notes the Atlanta Falcons are turning to rookie Michael Penix Jr. as their starting quarterback and benching veteran Kirk Cousins as they fight for their first NFL playoff berth since 2017. Coach Raheem Morris announced the decision Tuesday night. Meanwhile, Kansas City quarterback Patrick Mahomes is preparing to play against the visiting Houston Texans on Saturday. The two-time MVP sustained a high ankle sprain in Sunday's 21-7 win over Cleveland. The sports update is for Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. We've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check us out at SeatGiant.ca. Thought it was kind of a fun poll question today, too, by the way, for EMJ Marketing. They bring you the poll question every day. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing Speakers Bureau. Check them out at emjmarketing.com. What's the biggest dumpster fire in sports right now? The Buffalo Sabres or one of these three bad NFL teams, the New York Jets, New York Giants, or Las Vegas Raiders. Running away with the vote is the Buffalo Sabres. I kind of think you're a prisoner of the moment because they've lost 11 in a row, including getting bombed last night on Montreal. But you might also be right. They might be the biggest dumpster fire of them all. Sad. What do we have here? Bomber Boy in Calgary writes in and says Canada could have submitted 2 teams and then add a Team Europe to make the number even. Yeah, we say that every year. Let's just make sure that they win it. This is interesting. Colt writes in, Alouettes fan, says it's a sad day today. The Hamilton Tiger Cats and Forge FC Tim Hortons field name is going to be gone. Now the field will get a new name. 10 years of Tim Hortons Field. Now what should the name be? Well, that would be a lot of fun. That's a fun discussion. I will say this. Don't cry because it's over. Be happy that it happened. Smile that it happened. Credit Dr. Seuss. Paul in Humboldt says the NFL Christmas Carol, starring the owners as Scrooge, the players as Bob Cratchit, the viewers as Tiny Tim on December 25th. God bless us, everyone. Sure. Yeah. John says, I miss Don Cherry. John, get over it. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care of yourself.
McFly, hello.